All right, so in this part of the video, we are looking at this and how to assemble all of this, okay? You can see that we have a negative wire attached to the brushing, and it goes out towards the top and then out. Then I have my servo wire going out, and then we have this wire hooked to this, I would call it a donut, and it rotates and it rotates this. This doesn't matter if it's straight or not. In fact, it's kind of beneficial that it's not because it adds a little bit of a wobble to it. And yeah, that's the finished thing that we're going to be working on in this section of the video. All right, so I'm going to go over as many things as you need to assemble this thing, okay? One, you're going to need a brushing. You're going to need a 15 millimeter M3 screw. You're going to need an M3 screw or Allen wrench. You're going to need about a 5/8 drill bit. You're going to need some side cutters. You're going to need a 1/16 of an inch drill bit. You're going to need some pliers. You're going to need some super thin super glue. You're going to need some solder. You're going to need a soldering iron. You're going to need some flux. Oh, you're going to need this saw or a saw. I would say, yeah, even any metal biblade fine tooth saw would work. Oh, what else? Oh, you're going to need some speaker wire or some extension cord wire for this. Either or. You're going to need some 3 millimeter PLA. That's it, I think. Oh, copper wire, 12 gauge. Now, remember, I do sell an assembled version of this, and it's rather high. And maybe it's because there's a lot of tools involved. So if you are interested in purchasing one of these assembled, it is expensive, but you don't have to buy all of this or have any kind of experience. You could just kind of like plug it in. There you go. With the addition of the servo controller, I'm not going to sell those. I would probably have just the servo in here. What you'll get is this thing, and then a link to the servo controller, which is pretty easy to find on Amazon. And it's dead easy to hook up to the device. Okay? But I have kids that are really good at assembling things, and you're basically teaching them some dexterity skills. So if you do purchase this thing, a portion of the proceeds goes to the assembly of things for my daughter and my kid, and there you go. So now let's go on with the video. All right, so in this video we're making this. Okay, so we're learning how to assemble it. I don't know what part of this video there is, so there's probably a 1 or 2 part series. So I'll say something like it's a part, but really the overall video will be put up on YouTube. So in this section of the video, we build this part. Yay! All right, so for this very beginning build, what we have to do is print out these, and 2 of these. And now I print out a bunch at a time, so hold on, I have to figure out which ones are pairs. Yeah, that. So I left this one like this because I wanted to show you when you print them, you know, print with your trees. over these areas so that it preserves these and these. Okay. So these two are pairs. Okay. And now these kind of come in pairs too, so we have to kind of see if these click into place. They should be universal, but just in case. So these do click into place. Okay, sweet. All right, now what I like about this system is I'm trying to think left-handed people and right-handed people when I design things. I know that's a very weird thing to think about, but another thing is, let's say you had your tank, you wanted it to be open this way or this way when you put stuff in, all right? Easy as that. You just have to flip everything, all right? So you have to decide, are you a right-handed person? And if you're a right-handed person, you probably want it like this. And if you're a left-handed person, you probably want it like this. Okay. I am right-handed. So that means I am going to be designing this so it looks like this. Okay, just has the opening here. Notice it's these closed off in the back. That's good. Now if you wanted to do the other way, so there's the right-handed way to do it. There is the left-handed way to do it. I love designing things. It's so cool. All right. Now let me get back to where it was. All right. These things go on regardless of whatever direction. So these are your channels. I printed them like this so you didn't have any overhangs. And designed it like that so it's easy to do the right and left hand thing. Boom. There's the right-handed method of doing that. And I think you get the idea now. All right, now let's talk about angle. So you can see, like, I can get a pretty good idea of angle here. The further I can get these back like this, the better. Okay, so if your build warped a little bit, just kind of put some pressure on this, because what you want to do is try to kick these back. The reason is you're going to have a stepper or a servo go here and rotate this donut looking thing, and you'll want this will be in here clamped like that, and then you're going to spin a copper 12 gauge wire here in this donut. So the further these get jacked back, the better. And depending on how you printed it, or what material you printed it out of, that changes just a little bit sometimes. But don't worry, it'll always work. I've put many of these together so far, they all function quite well. I've just learned over time, what to look for. Here's super thin super glue, okay? You need this. This is a low viscosity super glue. Best thing you can ever buy as a 3D printer. So what I want to do is kind of hold that and just put like a little teeny tiny drop right there and right there. Stay away from your hands. At this point, you should make sure that it doesn't touch the ground. There we go. That's enough that you can pick it up and play with it. All right. So now I'm going to put some in here. And all that is falling down all into those cracks. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, learn something new every day. Super thin super glue. This can be found at Hobby Lobby. They changed their formula, however. I'm going to bust Hobby Lobby out for white labeling their crap. So this is, see this cap right here? This is the old stuff. This stuff is worth its weight of gold. They white label their goods. Here, I'll cut this label off, or cut this little thing off so I can show you who makes the best super glue in the whole wide world. Bust them out right now, because I despise people that white label their goods. Manufactured by Adhesive Systems. Now, Adhesive Systems puts out 1 billion products. Good luck finding what this one is white labeled as. If you do know, or find out, please let me know, because this is the most amazing super glue in the world. Their new formula, or actually the company they have white labeling their new glue at Hobby Lobby, is something else. It's not Gorilla Glue, it's something. But it is the worst super glue in the whole wide world. So, if you work at Hobby Lobby, tell your keepers to switch back the super glue, please. You can see that little gap. See that right there? That's what I'm talking about, that little gap. That won't matter. It's the angle this way. All right, so I wanted to take my time and talk about that because it's the base model for everything else. Now, the legs that you put on this dictate the things that it goes in. For example, if you make legs that look like this, which are coming up here in the next part of the video, these will go on a 5-gallon tub. I've not yet developed the ones that go into the 3,000 milliliter beaker, but that is my next project. So it is on the horizon. Okay, let this fully dry before we start implementing making this, which is the next part of the video. We have these clamps, I'm calling them, and the clamps have holes, and they need 12 gauge wire. Okay, now if you are familiar with 3D printing, you'll know that if you put like the perfect setting for a 12 gauge wire into your software, you're going to come out to be a little weird, like depending on what plastic you use. So a 1/16 of an inch drill bit will get you where you need to go, and you might want to ream out your holes because that way it works so much better. So get yourself a 1/16 of an inch drill bit, ream out your holes, and for every 2 clamps, you get to make a side. So you need to print 4 of these bad boys. Okay, 12 gauge copper. What I would do is get yourself a piece of metal, or if you have, you know, yourself a anvil, that would be even better. And then you're going to cut yourself a piece of 12 gauge copper wire. I wouldn't make it too long. Best multi-tool in the world. Prove me wrong. Crucial by the Gerber. love this. Look how perfect the points are, and it's got a flat on it instead of a grip. If you're into jewelry making, that is the best. All right, so you get yourself a hammer, okay? And then you just pound that flat. Now I'm going to do that off camera because that would be annoying to listen to, but really I don't need that much wire. We're going to be utilizing this thing. We're going to be pushing this into that. And pushing another one in like that. So now all the holes are lined up. So now what you do, you take your wire and you put it through. Just like that. And you could trim it off later using flush cuts. For right now, do that all the way down. Okay, I'm going to do that real quick. The next step, once you get all of those in, you get yourself some super thin super glue, okay? Don't matter where you get it at, it's just got to be the low viscosity super glue. And you just go like this, boop, boop. Now, because of the siphon effect, that will get siphoned into there, and it's already probably dry. Once you assembled this part, you take it out and you put the other side in, and you need to do 2 of those struts. So I'm going to assemble the rest of this off camera, and then I'll bring it back. All right, so I'm dealing with a stationary camera right now because, well, I just want to be able to assemble things, so I mounted it. And this is the tub, okay? This is a 5-gallon tub. The one that you purchased is for a tub, okay? And it'll do a rather large tub or a small tub. My tub, I'm going to put 2 lines out here. Okay. Can you see the other line? No. Okay. Well. Weird. Well, these are Expo marker, and I don't want to screw up my graph, so that'll at least come off. And you got to understand that there's a line here and a line here, and that represents the width of my tub, which is 10.5. You can measure it too. So what you're going to do here is you put that there. And you'll notice that there is some extra here, right? Some super extra. Okay. So you could just kind of eyeball this. And what I'm looking for is right here to right here and getting kind of a center point. Here is my center point. Okay. So that's my center point. Boom. So now I can go like this. And you'll see right there is my center point. Cool. Now what I could do is I can cut that. And what I use is just like a saw. And the reason they're so long is because that way I have people that have 5-gallon tanks, 10-gallon tanks, whatever you got, this will stretch across there. Let me go get a saw. All right, so these 1,000,000 teeth little hobby saws work really good for this, especially if you're making a lot of these. Like really, for example, I have to create about 20 of these. So it's entertaining. Learned a lot. So there we go. And then you just and you can see it cuts through it fast. Now I don't want to do that here on that desk because my microphone is mounted on that. Sweet. All right, now we got both of them. And this one goes into this side. Now if you have some graphite spray, that would work too. And you only need one side to be mobile, okay? So you can glue this side and not this side. All right, just to make sure I got everything correct, I'm gonna put it on my tub to make sure it fits. And yes, it fits really well. Okay, good, check. Okay. Good, stationary camera, can't show you that part. That means I could take my super thin super glue and I could put it on this side. And because of the siphoning effect, it will go in and then weld all that together. Okay, and this side slides in and out. All right, we're almost there. That stuff dries incredibly fast. Rubber band, okay, boop, like that. Another one for good measure. Now, if you get shorter rubber bands, you can do this little trick where you rotate it one more time and go like that. Now you got extra rubber bandy things going on. And there we go. That is part 2. All right, so on this video, I have to show you how to make a PLA rivet. This is going to be required for a part of my other builds. So this is kind of a prerequisite YouTube video that I'm going to put in a list. So a PLA rivet, what is that? Well, this is PLA. It's 3 millimeters. And instead of using screws in 3D printing, I use PLA, okay? And that'll save yourself, one, a 3 millimeter screw that if you're in the United States is, well, rather hard to get at sometimes. And, well, let's just face it, it's freaking sweet. So first off, go to Salvation Army or wherever they donate crap and get yourself a cooking griddle, okay, the smallest one you can find, and find a piece of plated, some glass, and put it on the top of it, and turn it on super low, okay, super low. Ooh, it's getting to the point where it feels like they're sticking, okay, so that's good. Okay. And they won't stick to the glass, mind you, that bad. Okay, there's a little. So once they get to the point where they're kind of like that, where it's hard to push them around, then you take your pliers at this point, and you can see, yeah, that's perfect. See how like it's bending a little bit? Move them around a little bit. And then find yourself a nice cool, I got a desk out here, and what I'm going to do is transfer it over to the desk and then roll it like a noodle onto the desk. So I'm just rolling it onto a cold surface. And then I get this. Okay. Easy, right? Easy. You're like, that's... Now try to do that with a lighter or a gas stove, and you'll find that it is freaking hard to do that. Perfect. Every time. All right. Now, do you want to see it in action? Of course you do. So now you need yourself a lighter. Okay? And you need a cold surface now. So we're going to turn that off, and I'm just going to put this cold plate on the glass. Okay. You heat it up, and you press it down into the plate. You don't have to use metal. You can use any surface that's cold. And then you just go like that. And boom, you get a rivet. Sweet. Now you might want to think, well, how do I put that into something? The other side, you don't have to use this plate. You can use anything, file, anything that's flat and metal, and it'll flatten out on the other side. So you just have to heat it up with a lighter and then touch it on the end with something that's flat, and it makes it a perfect rivet. All right, so there's my prerequisite video on how to make a PLA rivet. And if you want to see it in action, watch my other videos. Enjoy. All right, so you should have this piece ready, and then we have the ability to put the servo motor in, okay? So you probably watched my prerequisite video on PLA riveting. If you haven't, it's in that section. You have to make sure that you know how to make a PLA rivet. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 15 millimeter little 3 millimeter bolt, and you're going to go and put that in there. In the show notes, I have a list, a bill of materials of all the things you're going to need. You're going to need one of those bolts. You're going to put it flush on the inside like that, and then you're going to put it onto the stepper motor, or servo, sorry, and you're going to press fit it. And then you're going to just screw this in place. Sweet. Then tighten it up. Don't rotate this so it rotates the servo. It's bad for it. Now, get yourself some E6000 or some kind of silicone glue and cover that head. Why? Because you can't have any metal exposed to the tank. It'll corrode it and it'll fall in your tank and it'll make a contamination within your tank. So we have to use PLA rivets, and then this is the only thing that's really showing. This one's kind of sealed in there. And the rest of it's pretty good. You got some metal up here. You could cover those over if you want to do the total paranoia thing. Which with this chemistry, I would say that's a good idea. Now this servo fits in here, just like that. Now if it fits snug, it's because your glue is in there, and you can use yourself a file. I prefer one of these to shave off the glue that you might have got into place, and it looks a lot like this now. Okay, now this side and this side, you can see that's the position of the servo, how it needs to go in. Not on the other side, this side. All right, cruising right along. PLA rivet, so get yourself a metal block, get yourself a lighter, toast it. It should be on fire at this point, and then you smash it down into a block of metal or anything cold. It will not stick to the metal, and you can lift it up, and there we go. On the other end, what I would highly suggest is you just do that so it's sharp, and we'll do the hard ones first. On this side, I'm just doing that, and if you rotate it, then it can go up in there. So how you assemble this is up to you. You don't have to go the order that I have. I would watch the whole video and decide if there's a better assembly rotation. But this is my 10th one, so I've gotten pretty savvy at this. All right, so now toast that. Side cutters. Flatten it out. There we go. We have our rivet. And you just repeat that over and over again. You find yourself a sharp end, and you do the opposite on the other end. You toast it, flatten it, just like that, and put it through the hole and rotate it. Then put it up through there, just like that. Cut yourself, make sure it has like, you know, like a 1/4 of an inch would be good. But really the servo rotates around, but there really is nothing that's going to make this drop out, really. But I've learned over time that if it happens to have a problem, it will occur. Especially if you take on consignment or commission work, which I do not do anymore, so don't even ask me. That person will grab a random rock out in the world and be like, hey, can you make me a necklace out of this rock? And I'm like, sure, if I want my entire house to burn down, I'll do that. All right, so at this point, we have to assemble this brushing housing. Okay, you can see that it has a slot. This slot being down this is down. Okay, so this bigger one on this side is the down. All right, now you also find that your brushing has like a curvature to it. See that curvature? Versus this curvature. Okay, you want this curvature to be the thing that touches the piece of copper. So it has to be like that, where there's a curvature, concaveness, not this way. This way. It's slight. It's very slight. But just think about how this has kind of a moon shape to it, and there's going to be a piece of copper in here that rides in there. Sweet. So now what you do is you take this little metal disc and you slide it into that channel. Okay? And now what we have is this. And we're going to solder a wire to the end of this, like an extension cord wire. Fun to play with too. All right, so this next part, you're going to find yourself a drill bit that's about the same diameter of this. Okay? In this case, it's 23 64ths, but you can get a little bit more to a common, I think 5/8 or something like that. You're going to make yourself a loop like that. Then you're going to take a pair of needle nose pliers, grab it right about there, and you're going to rotate this so it looks like that. Okay? Then you're going to get a pair of flush cuts, do one of those. So now you have like this. Okay, sweet, you got this going on. And what that's going to do is going to go that. So you can open it up. Then you can put it on your donut. By fishing it on there. And don't let it fall in the hole. Should fit like that. Then you can take and close that loop. Just do your best. The donut will provide your inability to close the loop. So you can see I can rotate this. It can't come off of there. There's no way. All right. Now you watch the part where I assembled this thing. Okay. It needs a rubber band. I would put the rubber band here. It's easy to change this rubber band if needed. Might dry rot after a while. Okay, so this is now closed off. Again, this is the down position. So you go like this, press that in, then you fish it into the next hole, like that. It's going to be a little snug, it's okay. That thing has a lot of torque. Then this opens up and fits inside that. Like that. Now let's talk about perfectionism. It isn't required. There's a lot of torque here, okay? So if you got it a little weird, like this is not straight, it makes a little bit of a wobble, and it's actually, I would say, beneficial to the overall thinking process of it. And it comes down to the assembly. Like this, for example, if you put this on last, you could make minor adjustments up here, and etc. and so forth. But it has enough torque that it won't matter at all. Okay, now for this one, again, it's all in whatever you want. Like I would say a bigger drill bit would be nicer, because when you go to put your pieces on it and you're in the heat of battle checking it, it's much better to have a bigger loop here. All right, so there we go. Got that. Okay. Again, we're going to cut it right here. So you get that. Then you take yourself a pair of needle nose pliers and you twist it so that you have this shepherd's hook. And I would even leave it offset like this, because when you go to check your piece, it's a lot easier to check it. Right. And if you want it just a little bit like that, you can. There we go. We have the fully rotatable Now, we're going to solder onto this, an extension cord. I don't know if I'm going to have to show you how to solder, but I'm just going to solder a piece on there. If you've ever soldered, good. If you've never soldered, I would almost, because by the time you get your soldering iron, your heat, all that good stuff, it does require at least a pretty hot soldering iron to do this, because it's such a thick plate and you're using an extension cord. I would say a 60 to 80 watt would be nice in this point. Okay, so I'm going to just do that, and then I'll have that. All right, so I am going to show the soldering process. I only because I love this soldering iron. This is the FX 600, so it's fully cranked, by the way. Super good soldering iron. Can't say enough about it. Okay, what you do is you do that right there. I am in a room that's not necessarily what I use for soldering, okay? So I don't have my fancy little jigs or anything like that. I don't have my helpy hands. I just got whatever's available to me at the time. There we go. Pair of needle nose works just fine. And what you're going to do is going to tint the wire. And what you want to do is tint it so that it soaks in. So get it hot. Want some extra on there, so let it drip down. Okay, then you'll notice that it's kind of blobby. This is speaker wire. You can use extension cord or speaker wire, by the way. Doesn't matter. Then what I'm going to do is trim a little bit of this off, just right there. Cool. Set it off to the side just for a sec, and then I'm going to go tint my other part. This is a little harder to get to, so hopefully I can manage to do this. Okay. Okay, keep in mind PLA melts, so you don't want to superheat that. There we go. And I'm going to cool it with a piece of steel. Doesn't matter what you use. There we go. All right, in order to get the two pieces, now that you've cooled the piece, this one to that one, you have to use a flux. So I just brush on some flux to this piece and brush on some flux on the other piece. Then still have those pliers handy for cooling the piece. A little bit more cool. Got to cool that down or it'll pop out the back. And now there's a spring in there too, so in the long run what you'll do is run a channel of glue here so nobody sees that. And then this goes up into your cage. I've made this rather long. So what I do is I go into the rubber band and then out the top. Just like that. And then you got your servo motor that goes that way. And I have everything on the one side of my tank. So I'll do that. And then I'll put Mr. Rubber Band back on. There should be another rubber band here. So that's what we got. We have the assembly, this wire that goes to your negative. This goes to your servo controller. And then you can have up to 3 of these running at any one time off of one servo controller. All right, and that's the finished product. The plating go round.